All right, welcome back. We're going to be talking pop culture and politics because pop culture is one of the biggest exports from Nigeria these days, and it has a huge influence not just on the country but on the continent, especially with young people. And it did play some parts in the elections this year. We had some heavyweights in entertainment stick their head out either for politics or for politicians or for parties, and we're going to be talking about that and to see how much of an effect it had. Here with me is the editor of Pulse.ng, Osagi Alonge. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure being here.
Yeah. Before we go into specifics now, are you happy with sort of because we talked earlier at the show about the turnout, which was really abysmal, and most people were talking about, at their polling units, you hardly saw 20-year-olds or people in their 20s. Some of the young people you would see were in their early 30s, mid-30s. So a lot of the young people didn't seem to be really interested in the elections. And it was quite surprising considering there were a lot of heavyweights who either ran for office or stuck out the neck of people who were going to run for office. Were you surprised by that?
I won't say surprised because, looking again from what has happened in the past, it's just very similar. What I would say is, how many people were able to ever actually get their PVCs? That was a very big problem. So voter registration was a very big problem. However, it is interesting to see how different it is when it plays out on social media. Everybody is very passionate. Young people are very passionate on social media. But when it gets offline, for people to actually come out and register, get your PVC and vote, it became a problem. Yeah. So it just seems. Interestingly, 75% of the population is below the age of 30. So you have predominantly very young people. But I don't understand why, young people don't just want to come out and vote. Yeah. They want change. They drive for this change on social, but, taking yourself out of your house to vote has seemed to be a problem.
Yeah. And they complain about these things and actually complain about the right things, and they make a lot of sense, but, translating that to action. And I'll talk about people who run now. Of course, Banky W was probably the most prominent. He ran for the House of Representatives for Etiosa in Lagos State. There was a lot of what we see on the internet trolling initially, like, oh, why are you wasting your time? He got some heat initially because people thought, oh, first of all, your party we don't even know your party. Are you sure you're doing this? Or you're an agent of the APC, you're trying to distract votes. There was so many things being said at the time. Then he ran, and results started trickling in, and it looks like this guy might actually win it. But eventually, we've heard that he didn't. I mean, that's a conversation for another day. But there's a belief that if young people had come out to vote, that maybe had been different. Even if the fact that the person who won was actually a young person, let's not take that away from him. But he's a celebrity, an entertainer who a lot of young people could relate with. Do you think he lost because he didn't get the young vote?
I think, looking at who he ran against, the person he ran against and eventually won is deeply rooted into, politics and, is well experienced and versed. We won't take it away from him. Yeah. However, you're very right. I think, first of all, people not, trusting. I think that's the first thing. Trusting, people who actually come out to run. If you don't know every other person who comes out to run, if you don't have a background of them, and a celebrity comes out and says, I've done, different things from business to entertainment, and I really want to take this, this position and take it to the next level. And you have to give props to Banky for always being open and honest about his intentions to run in. It wasn't just shrouded in secrecy and he just said he was running. He was always vocal. He was at every interview. You could see the honesty and the true intention of him running. Yeah. And, he should be commended for taking that bold step. I think he has inspired many people. Yeah,
I was going to ask that. Do you think more people would take that same line, or do you think people are sort of disappointed with the outcome?
No, I don't think so. And like he said, it's just the beginning. Yeah. One person always has to make the brave move, and as history has always shown us, the first person always is the martyr. Yeah. So he's taking a very, very brave move, and I hope he doesn't stop there. I hope the next round of elections he stands up again and says, I'm going for this position and I want to win it this time. But again, it's disappointing that even his fellow celebrities and entertainers couldn't come out to endorse him. We partnered with the BBC and Media Room Hub to have, an Etiosa election debate. And we had 5 candidates, young people who came out, young people came out. And the entertainers, we didn't see them. Only a few came early. Those who came an hour into the debates. And I don't know if they came.
Why do you think that was? Why do you think people didn't work? Why do you think the endorsements? Because, people have said that as well. A lot of celebrities didn't necessarily want to pitch tents with him. Why do you think that was?
Or even pitch tent with, regular politicians. I think, first of all, you have two Northerners running, and I think, there was a lot of, a lot of people in the southern part of Nigeria were not, necessarily interested, and you could see that in the voter turnout in the southern part of Nigeria, southeast, southwest, and the south. I think that was the first thing. And I think entertainers, I don't know if they have, everybody has political connects. Everybody has a relationship with another person who has a relationship, and it ties back to people, men in power and all that. So I think that also, played out in terms of, endorsing Banky W.
Yeah.
He was running against big political parties with big heavyweights, with godfathers, and it's not easy to do. And I think people were just being careful. And it's a bit disappointing that, people won't rally around, one of their own.
Yeah. That brings me now to, talk about, celebrities sort of coming out. And there were people who did that without caring. Davido, of course, was a big talking point in the elections. Iniedo, I think, was also very vocal. She was at a lot of rallies in Akwa Ibom State. K1, I think, the Ultimate also performed at a lot of rallies for the APC. These are people who pitched their tent clearly. Are those things that should be encouraged? Or do you think they're dangerous?
I think if the everyday Nigerian can have a conversation and can pitch a tent with a politician like we've already seen, I'm sure that people you wanted to vote for, you campaign for, say, hey, man, I'm going to vote for this guy. I think you should vote for him too. I don't see why we should take entertainers and people in that sphere away from this conversation as well. Yeah. I remember when Barack Obama was running for the first time, you had the likes of Diddy, who did the Vote and Die campaign. You had even Jay-Z perform at Obama's inauguration. So you had a lot of opera. There were so many people who rallied around, politicians. And we've seen that in the past. So I'm surprised that people aren't, using their power. Don't forget, celebrities and entertainers have power, social, online and offline, to galvanize people. So the question is, are they indifferent? I would want to believe
which is what I was also say, I mean, the downside to it, looking like a Davido, for example, I mean, there were a lot of comments. People were, I mean, he got a lot of heat as well. People saying, oh, they paid you. You're not even being sincere. People compared him to another artist who was more sort of quiet about the elections. Why? So when people see things like that, is probably why they don't come out and pitch their tent, maybe, you don't think?
I think everybody should have a mind of their own. If Davido says he's supporting, candidate A, don't take it away from him. He genuinely wants to support candidate A. He has the right as a Nigerian to do so. It's not illegal. It's legal for him to do so. So the worst thing to ever do is sit on the fence. If you're going to make impact, you either go for A or B or whatever, wherever you want to face. But you have to come out to say, this is what I'm doing, especially when you have the power to do so and you want to drive change. If we all as Nigerians want to drive change, which we do in our bedrooms, in our houses, amongst our friends, why don't we want to do it in the public? I don't see anything
we have another 4 years to go. I don't know. What do you think is going to happen between now and then? What do you want to see happen? Do you think celebrities are going to be a lot more vocal? I mean, we saw there were people like Omoni Oboli who became ad hoc staff at their polling units.
She was at the VGC polling center.
Exactly.
And we saw her there.
Do you think that should be more continuous, even if you're not partisan?
I think the first thing is celebrities and entertainers need to encourage people to register and to go out and vote. I think that's the first step. Before moving to the next step to say, oh, vote for this person or that person, I think you should encourage people, because young people look up to celebrities, young people look up to entertainers. So that's the first thing. Really get people to get their voters card and go out and vote. We need to increase the number of registered voters. In a country of 180 million, you have
registered young voters.
Yeah, young voters. So how many young voters do we have? Educated, young voters. Like, a lot of people aren't coming out to vote. And I talk to young people every day. That's the problem. So we need these people. Use your star power and influence to drive change. That should be the CSR every entertainer does.
Thank you very much, Osagi. 4 years ahead. There's a lot that we're going to be talking about. Hopefully, maybe we'll see more candidates even from the entertainment industry.
It will be interesting.
That will be very interesting to see. Thanks a lot for being here.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well, like I always say, you can follow the conversation on Twitter at YNigerTV is the handle. The hashtag to follow is Rubbin. You can also visit our website, YNiger.tv. Thanks for joining us. I'll see you next time.